the very year in which the world witnessed the contemporary miracle of the establishment of the State of Israel. There's another number which in modern times carries significant, comparable to 600,000. It is tenfold that number that bears with it the memory of tragedy beyond parallel. You see, 6 million were the victims of the Holocaust, the number of those who barbarically murdered by a regime which plotted a final solution for the Jews. This is why it is so important to mark another milestone in modern-day Israel, a milestone we may now celebrate on the occasion of the 50th year celebration of Yom Yerushalayim. The population of Jews, Yom Yerushalayim, the day when Jerusalem was united once again. The population of Jews in Israel today at least exceed that number, so starkly identified with tragedy. There are now more than 6 million Jews who make Israel their home. In the Jubilee year of Jerusalem's reunification, more than 6 million Jewish souls in Israel joyfully proclaim the reality of the biblical message of the 50th year. And what is that? The land belongs to God, and our generation has become witness to the divine decision, Hashem's decision, as we discussed at great length this weekend, to reunite us with Jerusalem. Who exactly named Jerusalem, Jerusalem? You know, as the name Jerusalem rolls off our tongues, you know, those who have been there, those who live there, our mind conjures up the images of stone-cobbled streets where ancient prophets and kings once trod, and more history than 1,000 books could ever hold. But who made up the name? Where does it come from? The word Jerusalem, or Yerushalayim in Hebrew, is not mentioned in the 5 books of Moses, and the word Jerusalem only first appears in the book of Joshua. At least it's not mentioned in full in the 5 books of Moses, but both halves of the name are mentioned. Let me explain. So the name Jerusalem in its complete term can be found first in the book of Joshua. But the earlier recollections, the earlier recording in the Torah itself mentions it in 2 halves. Let me explain. Yerushalayim, more specifically the Temple Mount, was the very spot where Abraham almost sacrificed his son Isaac. Look into the narrative there and you'll see that after he was told by an angel of God not to sacrifice his beloved son, it reads, and so Abraham named the place Hashem Yireh, God will see. As it says, on the mountain God will be seen. The Hebrew word for will see is Yireh. That's the first half of the word Jerusalem. Yiru, Yireh, to see. Now, what was the city called before Abraham renamed it Yireh? We have to backtrack a few chapters. After rescuing his relative Lot from captivity, we now read how Abraham was greeted by Melchizedek, the king of Shalem, who greeted him with bread and wine. An ancient tradition tells us that Melchizedek was actually one of the same as Shem, the son of Noah, and that Shalem was none other than the very place that Abraham would eventually rename Yireh. So Shalem is the second half. Yireh, Shalem. Put that together. Yerushalayim. Yireh, Shalem. So how did Shalem and Yireh get together to become Yerushalayim? The Medrash shares with us an amazing glimpse into the process. Said the Holy One, blessed be He, if I call the place Yireh like Abraham did, the righteous Shem will complain. However, if I refer to Shalem, the righteous Abraham will complain. Rather, I will call it Yerushalayim, and that name will contain the way it was called by both of them, Yireh Shalem. So on a deeper level, dear friends, Yireh Shalem has an alternative meaning. Yireh, or Shalem, complete awe. You see, on a soul level, on a deeper level, Yerushalayim is not just a patch of hilly earth or a dot on a map. It is that special place within each and every one of us where we are one with God and deeply in tune with His presence. Yireh Shalem, or Jerusalem, therefore means complete awe, a state where one is in touch with God as to be in constant rapture and constant excitement and passion of what we're all about. Powerful things, my dear friends. So here on Long Island, where some of us are celebrating 50, the conclusion of the Ringling Brothers that has been owned by a Jewish family for the last 50 years. But equally important, maybe more important, certainly more important, please remember of the great miracles that happened in Jerusalem. The 6-day wars, and then particularly the recapture of Jerusalem, all of that it represents. We discussed this on Shabbos in our synagogue, how really in the Israeli government had no intention. It was Prime Minister Levi Eshkol who was adamantly against and sent notice, even though the Jordanians were shelling and doing all kinds of things, they would not start up with Jordan, even though they had problems from the Golan Heights and of course from Egypt. At the end of the day, though, it was Menachem Begin who actually inspired Prime Minister Levi Eshkol in the middle of the night, and they had together what became known as the pajama meeting, because all the inner government leaders got together at 3 o'clock in the morning and decided, yes, they would listen to what was going on the ground and go and capture Yerushalayim, Jerusalem. Really, it was Hashem was in a certain sense pushing us to make sure that finally Yerushalayim would be in our hands again. As the famous words that reverberate around the words, HaKotel beyodenu, Yerushalayim beyodenu. My friends, everything in life, we should never think that this things like are inconsequential. Everything in this world has a meaning. The people we meet, the ideas that we do. There are so many. I would venture to guess that every meaningful and life-changing occurrence that seems so minor at the time, but if you look back in retrospect, become key moments, whether it's the moments or the people who end up having great ramifications for the rest of one's life. And I'm starting to realize that now, as the years go by, to appreciate where you find yourself, who you know, who you interact with, who your children marry, who are members of your shul, or the people that we sit with in shul. Never to take these things as random consequences. It's all by divine providence. And the faster we wake up and realize there are acts of divine providence going on in our lives every single moment, the more deeper and more meaningful our lives are, and appreciate that with total appreciation, and even see the deep significance of those moments when they happen. It's very, very, very significant. It's interesting that the Torah never tells us the name of the man who directed Joseph to Dothan. Remember, Joseph was sent by his father to find out how the brothers were, and we don't know who the man is. He met a man. This is so often how it happens. It is through someone whom you cannot even remember his name, who plays such a seemingly minor act in this one-hit wonder role. Just as quickly as he or she arrives in our lives, they are gone, never to be seen again. And if this was their only purpose, was to direct us, to cross our paths this one time and forever direct them. And I've been seeing this recently in every aspect of stages in life, chapters in one's life, to appreciate these what we call chance moments. And the truth is, we cannot really appreciate this, but the truth is, they are these things happening all the time. It might be through a snowball, or a chance encounter with a stranger, or some random guy at your Shabbos table. But the beauty of it is that we never know how deep and how meaningful those people and events really are until much later. And when we reflect backwards and see how God set the whole thing up when He sent them on their way. These are moments of divine providence that forever change our lives and help us become a person who we are today. And that's what I'd like to leave with you today, to start writing down in a diary or in some notes, or take a recording, and start to record and start to note what we may have thought as being an inconsequential moment in our lives. And when we look back, we say, man, that really was divine providence that occurred in our life. And the more divine providence that we see in our life, the more meaningful, the more deeper our life becomes. This past weekend, we hosted two wonderful persons who came for their 50th, again, a 50th school reunion in the Wheatley School District in the Roslyn area. And turns out that one of them actually grew up in the synagogue many, many years ago, and is a family of many years. And at the end of the evening, when they came back from their reunion late last night, one of their schoolmates, from their 50 years ago, needed a ride to the train. Right? It was really very, very late. It was I think a 12:42 a.m. Train. So I dropped him up at the Mineola station, and he says to me, he's not as observant as the other two ladies who spent Shabbos with us, and he says, I don't have that same kind of feeling as my other classmates. And he said, I wish I could have more meaning in my life. I don't have the same kind of commitment and passion as my school friends. And I said to myself, I've got to find something. I must say something important to him. It's 2 seconds. He's going to take his train, and I'll never see the guy again. And I said to him, you know what? If you really want to begin to see and make your life more meaningful, just add God. Tack on the name God to everything that goes on in your life. See divine providence that we met, that you came this weekend. I took you to the station. But that's more importantly that as you go through life, by day, by night, by week, by month, by year, look for the divine providence. There used to be a song, "Look for the Union Label." Now you know why my synagogue does not hire me for the high holidays, for the way I sing. But really, look for the Union Label. Look for Hashem. Look for Hashem. Look for the divine providence, and with blessing, with good health, with prosperity, with friendship, with camaraderie, with family, with children, with grandchildren, with great-grandchildren. These are not just the normal nature of things. You get married, have a kid, you have a grandchild. Everything's by divine providence. So, dear friends, on this important week, when we think about the many ideas of 50, think of the land of Israel. Think about our own lives. Think about what has happened in our own lives in the last 50 years. And think about Yerushalayim. This is your host, Rabbi Pearl. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. Stay healthy. Enjoy the circus. And most importantly, let's find the Union Label. Let's find the divine providence in our life. Stay well, sei gesund, and a good year.